Good morning. Welcome. Running a little bit late this morning. um, how's it going, everybody? Heidi always thinks that I'm talking to her. Heidi is my Sheltie. How's it going? Running a few minutes late this morning, so forgive me, but here we are. Christian Codes is here. Good morning, Christian Codes. Monique Robinson is here. Monique is a mod in the chat. Jason Harris, 1671. Hola, ¿cómo está usted? Yes, I took Spanish in junior high. I don't remember very much, but I do think that says, hello, how are you? I think that's what it means. Hello, how is everyone doing? Go Elmo is here. Hello all. Go Elmo is Malik Robinson. So YouTube has changed. YouTube has changed the handles for people in the chat. So now there's two names, right? There's like your @ name, your channel name, because even if you don't post on YouTube, everybody has a channel. And then there's your name that you type in, which you could change as often as you want, right? And I've noticed this on other chats too, on other streamers that I watch, where it's all the @ names now. So Go Elmo, formerly Go Elmo Go, formerly Malik Robinson, and Monique Robinson, not related, just a coincidence, are the mods in the chat. Christian Codes, I've been watching your videos. You've been posting every single day. I'll just be perfectly honest. You're giving me ideas for things that maybe I could post. You're giving me ideas. I'm really enjoying what you're posting. So I think it's a great idea what you're doing, and I'm enjoying watching your progress and watching. What am I trying to say? I love seeing the natural problem solving that people do, and I'm seeing that with you, and I think that's really fun. So I'm glad that is working for you, and you're starting to build a nice little audience too, which is very cool. So yeah, you're welcome. I enjoy it. It's fun. Like I said, it's just fun to watch people problem solve. I'm trying to also, this is one of the great things about getting to know Malik, who is a new developer, seeing Christian Codes and the content that you're posting, and sort of these casual side conversations that I have with some of the folks in the chat, mostly new people, some more experienced people, seeing how different people in different parts of the country and different parts of the world are being introduced to front-end development or just development in general, and seeing how they learn. I don't know. I think it's really cool. So, and no one is here. No one. I'm so glad that you're here, because this is exactly how I wanted to start today's stream. No one has been talking for several weeks about a book that he's been reading called, let's see here, it's the Steve Krug book. My apologies, it's probably going to be backwards. Steve Krug, Don't Make Me Think. And I do have a list of books that we're going to go through next, but no one emailed me a book report, his thoughts on this book, and I want to share it. He gave me permission to share this, and it's so well written. I really enjoyed reading it, and I think you guys will too. So let's see here. Okay. So he says, is this book good? Yes. Here is a detailed review. After reading this book, I literally feel more mature as a web developer. Now I know the direction, and my thinking has become broad. In this book, every chapter made me realize how little I actually knew about usability and users. I expected the book to teach the size of fonts, colors, and type graphics, the UI stuff. But when I opened the book, it was totally different, and this book shook my basic understanding of website interfaces. To be honest, I hadn't heard of usability when I started reading the book. I loved how Steve compares the website with the real world, like a street sign and a nav bar. I never looked at a website that way. I think this book focuses more on the relationship between humans and websites. For example, how users build a relationship with the navbar for checking where they are. If users lose their path, they use the home page and a street sign as a street sign with the navbar. It also highlights how users think when they see a website and what users are trying to do when they land or see a website. I am surprised to know that the back button is the most used on websites. And this is so interesting to me because this is also extremely controversial in front-end development, putting in a back button. I've been asked to do this many times and I've always fought against it. And I do understand that the back button is the most used feature on a website, but I also err on the side of if your architecture is good and your page structure and content are good, you shouldn't need a back button. But I digress. So, in the last chapter, Steve mentions that usability is not only a problem, but also how to convey to bosses, stakeholders, and other employees how important it is and how it is to deal with that. And at the end, he wrote that empathy is a requirement for this kind of job. So true. I think this is going to help me a lot in the future. This book doesn't give any rules for UI UX, but this book gave me direction. And then he lists out some of his goals here. My goals. My goal is that I want to do freelance and I want to make animated websites. And I also want to pursue my career in back end. I want to be surrounded by nice colleagues and work in a nice work environment. That is all that any of us want. Which is also my main focus right now. So I am planning to move to Germany for a better work culture, knowledge, and environment. And bravo. I mean, I think that this is so well written and very well thought out. So I think this is so cool that you read a book that I suggested and then wrote a book report. I'm so touched that you did this. And clearly, this was very impactful on you. And Steve Krug has another book called Rocket Surgery Made Easy. So with that being said, no one did ask me if I could highlight some books on my bookshelf. Now, full disclosure, my bookshelf is not as big as it used to be. I've moved a lot over the last 15 years, including cross country. I lived in San Diego, California for 2 years. And when I moved to San Diego, I had to get rid of a lot of books because it was just too much for me to take. I sold my house. I had a lot of stuff. I was really like downsizing and starting over, and the books kind of had to go. So a lot of the books that I have on my bookshelf are the ones that are the most meaningful to me, but they are just a blip of what I've read in my years. So, because I love books. So, with that being said, these are the books that are currently on my bookshelf that I think are important. So, the first one is the Copy Editor's Handbook. And here's why I think this is important, especially if you aspire to freelancing like no one does. I don't think that freelance web designers really understand how much they are going to need to help their clients with content and copy editing. This is a great book. It was a book that was basically a textbook in one of my graduate school classes, but I hung on to it because it's just great for copy editing, grammar, punctuation. Quite frankly, we didn't have ChatGPT back then. I think ChatGPT could do a lot of this nowadays, but also I think we're all learning the telltale signs of content that has been written by ChatGPT, including the dreaded M dash. So if you really want to level up your skills in terms of freelancing and working with clients, I do suggest that you work on your communication skills and that you learn a little bit about copy editing and content. So that's the first suggestion. I know I've talked about this book before. This is The History and Theory of Rhetoric by James Herrick. This was also a book that was assigned reading for a class I had. Literally, the class was called The History and Theory of Rhetoric. And I'm not like a philosophical girl at all. I can get a little existential once in a while, like maybe if I've had too much to drink, but I'm not like super philosophical, but this does sort of border on philosophy in my opinion, and it's pretty good. I there's a passage in here in particular, like really there's literally a paragraph in this book. I don't know where it is. I would have to go through and find it. That was something about something to the effect of people who have like an inner dialogue. Oh, how can I phrase this? It was about people and authenticity and how people and their inner dialogue, the inner dialogue that they have is just so private that they have no reason to not be authentic with themselves. I don't know. I should find this passage and I will read it to you. I will read it to you as soon as I find it because it was such a good passage. It was the single reason why I kept this book, and it really spoke to me, and it had to do with like authenticity and the conversations that we have or the inner dialogue that we have with ourselves about how we rationalize things or reason through things or think about things. I don't know. It was just really, really good. So that's another book that I would recommend. And so a lot of these books are based on communication, right? I don't really think you're going to see any books here that are like development, how to be better at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I literally have one book, which is the Marock's HTML5 and CSS3, which I've talked about many times. So content strategy for the web. Whoops. So this is a book by Christina Halverson and Melissa Rock. I think Christina Halverson is from Minnesota. She's from Minneapolis, so she's local. And then I have Megan Casey, the Content Strategy Toolkit. Both of these were textbooks that were assigned again when I was in school. They're both really excellent. They provide a lot of insight on working with content because here's the thing, right? We build the way we build websites and the way we structure our navigation and the reason we build pages is for the content, the words, right? So if you aspire to be a freelancer and work with clients, do not underestimate the amount of time you're going to spend working with them and dealing with their content. And then, of course, Steve Krug has a second book, Rocket Surgery Made Easy. And this book is really about ways that you can do usability testing, ways that you can set up and do your own usability test to make sure your websites are usable. Yeah, let's see here. Rehan Anwar is here. Hello, welcome. Go Elmo Go says, go. See, I'm going to forever say go Elmo Go. Malik, should I just say Malik? I think I should just say Malik. Says very good review. And I'm not surprised at all that Monique has read Halverson or any of these books because Monique is incredibly well read. Yeah, Maroc are fabulous books. They're so good. So if you enjoyed the Don't Make Me Think and you do want to put together some simple usability tests or learn how to, Steve Krug's approach is how to perform a usability test without leading the person that you're testing in order to get the good result, right? It's about doing the testing in a way where the person you're testing reveals what it is that you need to know. So this is also a great book. This I have on my Kindle, but I haven't read it yet. But I've known of this book for years, The Design of Everyday Things. Not specifically about web design, but this is really just talks about the design of everyday things, how everything that we interact with had to have been designed by somebody. Right? So I think that I would also recommend this book. In fact, I don't spend a lot of time reading these days. I wish I did. I need to prioritize reading. But I do have this on my Kindle and I would like to read it. It's a very popular book, especially in the design community. And then lastly, I want to recommend this is especially if you really have a deep desire to do freelancing and working with clients. This is the Handbook of Pricing and Ethical Guidelines. Now, they just came out with the updated, the 17th edition this month, November 4th, 2025. I have the 16th edition from 2021, which is, it's only $28 right now on Amazon, which is a pretty good deal. But this book just has tons of information. It's not just for graphic designer. They've got entire sections on digital web building apps. In the back of this book, there are lots of examples of like contracts and non-disclosure agreements, website design, maintenance order forms. Let me see here. Magazine purchase order for commissioned illustration, illustrator's estimate and confirmation form, lots of different forms and language, but also they really spend a lot of time in this book talking about how to price your work and the ethics around being a freelancer and being a contractor. Until you've been in the position of contracting and freelancing, I don't think you realize how easy it is to end up doing free work for people. So dealing with things like scope creep, making sure that you're on the same page with the client about who really owns the work, especially in web design where everything is open source. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Angular, Vue, all these things are open source tools. Well, once you build that, who really owns it? Who's like, what is the client? Is the client really paying for that? Like, if you go onto Stack Overflow or you go into ChatGPT to get a code snippet or to get help building something, well, now who owns that? Things like that. I like the sections on scope creep in particular. I was terrible at that because I always felt guilty. Like when things would come up in the middle of a job, something that I overlooked, I would always feel guilty and feel like I had to do the work for free to make up for it. And what it took me many, many years to realize is that, first of all, you will always overlook things. Things will always be overlooked in a project. That's a natural, normal part of doing a project. And because of that, you put that on a list and you say, well, I don't know, I'm not going to do a good job articulating this. It's normal to overlook things. It's just, and the more experience you have, the less you overlook things. So in the beginning, you're going to overlook a lot of things, and then you're going to put that on your mental list, and you're going to remember that for the next job. But also clients are going to see their ideas come to life in the browser or as an app, and then they're going to say, well, what about this? Or can we do this? Or I have this idea. And they're going to kind of bamboozle you into doing extra work for free. And they're going to make it seem like you overlooked something and that you owe them that work now. It's so subtle, it's so nuanced, and it happens all the time. And part of that is just you'll get more and more experience. You're going to learn how to deal with that. But also, this book is a good guide around things like that. So if you have a desire to do some freelancing and contracting, I recommend one of these books. You can get the newest version. I actually think the 16th edition is still perfectly fine. I'm sure it's updated for some more modern technology, but the principles are all still the same. Even if you could get your hands on an older edition, a used copy someplace, the principles are still all sort of the same. So these are a lot of the books that I recommend. Again, they're not really development focused. They're focused on content, communication, strategy, user interfaces, things like that. Listen, the coding is the easy part, especially now with ChatGPT. Writing the code is the easy part. The hard part is the communication. It's talking to your clients, talking to your leadership teams, talking to your colleagues, getting on the same page with people, having a mutual understanding about the work that needs to be done. And especially if you are working in an environment that is not collaborative, which is also very common in the United States. Every agency job I ever had, the tasks came down from the top And my job was to keep my mouth shut and get the work done. It was not a collaborative environment at all. They did not want my feedback. In fact, at my very first agency job ever, I was told that my life would be so easy if I would just do what I was told. And of course, I didn't want to work in an environment like that, so I didn't stick around there for very long. Yeah, so content, communication, I think copy editing is a really good skill to have. The coding's the easy part. I wish the coding was the hard part. My life would have been so much easier. If you think I'm the type of gal who just does what she's told, you got another thing coming. I mean, does anybody here think that that's the type of person I am? No, not at all. So, okay, so no one. Thank you very much. I loved this. I loved this book review. I just thought it was so cool that somebody read a book that I recommended and then took the time to write a review and share it with the class. So that's that. Yeah. And the tour of my bookshelf. What else? Oh, I do have one other thing I wanted to talk about. It's all kind of related here. Let me find it. It's a comment that I got this week. Okay. So I obviously get comments about why I don't use, um, why I don't use frameworks and libraries all the time. This comment, though, touched on something in a way that other people hadn't quite touched on. Why did people start teaching front-end development using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React without using Tailwind or Bootstrap? In the past, they taught Tailwind and Bootstrap, but today they mostly teach them without them. And you also don't use any frameworks. With your extensive experience in this field, can you tell me why? Thank you. So what this person is touching on that I don't think other people quite touched on is that front-end development is being taught with a CSS framework, either Tailwind or Bootstrap. So maybe as a new front-end developer maybe they're having you sit and take a course on CSS to just get introduced to CSS, but to be really taught how to build an app or to build a website, it's all about the framework. And I think this is such an interesting question because frameworks are now part of, help me out here. Does anybody else see what I'm getting at? It's that we're learning CSS and we're learning front-end developments, but we're not really learning CSS. Tailwind or Bootstrap are part of the process of learning front-end development. And to me, this is so sad because I'm very worried that we are now teaching a new generation of front-end developers how to only build with a framework to the point where it is unusual to not do it with a framework. And oh, 1 second. So now we are teaching front-end development with frameworks so much that it is an expectation that you know how to use a framework, and people don't understand why you wouldn't use a framework. I don't know. This question was framed in a way that was just a little bit different from how the question is usually asked, and I thought it was worth pointing out. So I thought it was interesting. And I think I gave kind of my standard response to this. Let me see here if I can find it. So my response was, I can show you here. I just said, thanks for the comment. I can't speak for anyone else, only myself. I've never used Bootstrap or Tailwind. I've gotten jobs specifically because I could write CSS without needing a framework. That is just my own experience. I don't think frameworks are bad. I understand why organizations use them, and I absolutely understand why organizations use them. Let me see here. But they are not a replacement for actually knowing how to write CSS. Also, I really enjoy it. I think CSS is fun. I like teaching new devs how to write it. As for frameworks, I've never used React, but I do use Vue and Angular. I don't teach frameworks because I want new devs to know the basics. I want people to understand the 3 core technologies that browsers natively render. So that's kind of my standard response, but I loved how the question was asked. I really liked how the question was asked. So that's that. And Malik says, I'm glad I learned on my own. I use and learn React more and more. As I use and learn React more and more, I hate how it is structured. I prefer vanilla everything. Did I ruin you for frameworks? I hope not. I would say this. As a Vue.js user, well, first of all, I genuinely enjoy Angular. Like, I genuinely enjoy Angular. And if I was to pick any of the frameworks, nowadays, I would choose Angular. I do really enjoy it. It sort of has like a very CMS feel to me that I like. So, and it's so well documented. It's just very easy to problem solve with Angular. I also like Vue. We used Vue at my old job at the University of St. Thomas. I was a Vue user for 7 years. And every time I had to pull in an API and like build some sort of new web app for our websites, I would use Vue, and I couldn't imagine doing all of that with vanilla CSS or vanilla JavaScript. So I absolutely understand why people use frameworks and how incredibly helpful they are. Yeah, and I've never used React just because I've never been any place or at a job where I had to know how to use it. So there's that. So I admire people like Go Elmo Go who are out there fighting the good fight, learning the frameworks. So I have a tendency to learn what I need to learn in order to get paid. So, because there's just too much to learn. I don't know how you do it all. I don't know how you do everything. So, okay, well, with that being said, that was a fun little start. Should we get back to it? So no one. I hope that you said it was okay to share the. You said it was okay to share the book review, and I was excited to see it when I opened my email this morning. I thought that was really cool. So, all right. Well, let's get back to it. Where we ended off last week. Let me see here. There we go. So we ended off last week. We got all of this done. I did realize that we didn't do a hover state for this button, so we're going to want to do like a focus hover active state for this button. And we had just started working on the footer. I think the last thing we did is we made these circles and we positioned them over top of this border. And this got me thinking, because this is sort of a common theme, these hollow circles. And I, at one point, was looking for a bullet that was just an outline. And I couldn't find any, not part of like the native HTML spec at least. And this is pretty much the theme of this mock-up, is that we have these circles. And I thought, duh, Angela, just make a circle with the border. So instead of these dots, because we used pseudo elements to put a bullet in between, instead of the bullets, let's just make our own little circles, hollow circles with a border. And then I really don't like this red, so let's go back and just make this gray, just like the mock-up. Oh, and I'm just noticing now too, we have this double dash underneath this H2. Do we have that anyplace else? I don't think so. So we have this double line here, which are different widths. And we did figure out how to do this last week, which I'm very pleased with how this turned out. So let's just do a little tidying up of our header. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. So let's find our navigation. And we're looking for that pseudo class right here. So instead of this bullet, we can do display inline block, and then we can make this a width of, let's try 10 pixels by 10 pixels. That I have a feeling that's going to be too big, and then we can adjust it. So a width of 10 pixels by 10 pixels, and then we'll say border radius 50%, background color, I'm going to say transparent, and then we can do a border 2 pixels solid, and then we can do any color. It doesn't matter what color it is because it's not an element that needs to be clicked on, right? So let's see how that looks. It looks a little weird. Let's see here. Oh, and it's because of the padding. So I think we're going to want to take out the padding because the padding is on the inside of the box model. There we go. That's actually kind of perfect. So we just need to make sure so here's our link. So I think we just want to do this margin on the left. Can't we just do margin inline? I don't use that very often, but voila. That's it. Why didn't I think of that before? I think these might be a little smaller, but I like these. So, and no one says, that is exactly the kind of book I wanted to read. Thanks for the recommendations, because finding technical books like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is easy, but these kinds of books suggestions are hard to find. Oh, good. I'm glad I was thinking about this last week because you did sort of ask me last weekend, can you do like a tour of your bookshelf? And I was thinking about that and I was like, none of these are coding books. Like literally one of these is coding books. And I had to really sit and think about that. And I was like, yeah, the reason why I don't have a bunch of coding books is because that's the easy part. The coding is the easy part. The hard part of freelancing or any job, any place, it was never about writing the code. It was about communicating. It was about learning how to communicate or understanding how to communicate my ideas to my leadership teams, especially when they were asking me to do ridiculous things that I knew weren't usable. But how do I communicate that to them or to the clients? So I'm glad that we're on the same page about that. I'm glad we're on the same page about that. So, okay. And also, no one. I would, so we have, I'm going to digress again for a moment. It's my channel. I can digress as much as I want. So we have 4 mods on the channel. We have Malik, Monique, Rahul, and Emilio. Rahul and Emilio aren't around as much, which is they're busy. They've got stuff going on. Not a criticism at all. The mods never, ever, ever need to explain to me why they are here or not here. Being a mod on this channel is just about if you're around and you can help out and keep an eye on the chat. That's what I need mods for. So mostly lately it has been Malik and Monique, and no one, I would really love to add you as a mod to the channel. So that is what I'm going to do right now. We also have a Slack channel. Hang on here one second. We also have a Slack channel, and I will go ahead and send you an invitation to the Slack channel. And I don't mind saying this. I like talking about these things out loud in the stream because I like letting people know how I structure my channel and what my expectations are for my channel, and the kinds of conversations that I have with the mods about the things that we're looking for in the chat. So first, I'm going to make you a mod. Add as a moderator. Yes. So no one, congratulations, you are a moderator. I am happy to have you here. My expectations are this. I don't ever care if somebody criticizes me or how I write code or how I do something. Even if you're a little spicy about why I'm not using a framework or why I'm doing something a particular way, those things do not bother me. Comments like that don't bother me. If you make a comment that is personal or explicit, which I am kind of surprised at how people can be really explicit in the chat and not use any of the words on my block list, but they find a way to do it. Stuff like that isn't tolerated. It gets deleted and blocked immediately. But if you have something critical that you want to say about how I'm doing something, or you agree or you don't, or you disagree, go ahead. I can, trust me, I can take it and I can dish it out I can take it and I can dish it out. So those things just don't bother me at all. But I really, really like having mods that have been here for a while, that are participating in the chat, that are clearly extremely thoughtful, and they ask good questions, and I can tell that they're just kind of into it the way the rest of us are. That's what I'm looking for in a mod, and I just like having a nice little group of people that if you're available and you can be here and you can keep an eye on the chat, that's what I'm looking for, especially because I need to also be able to have long blocks or periods of times when I can just be focused and working on the project, and I can just have a second or third or fourth set of eyes on the chat, keeping an eye on things. So hopefully no one, you're down for that. You don't mind being here and hanging out with us. And yeah, I don't know. I enjoy your presence in the chat, and I would be happy to have you as part of our little team. So there's that. And yeah, we're really nice here. So okay, we'll go back to it. We'll get back to it. Okay, so I really like this. I really like these little borders. I really like these little borders. So let's do it. Now we need to make sure that we don't have this circle after the last item. And we already did that with the content. So we're just going to say, so I think we're just going to want to say margin 0 and probably border none. And I think I'll just do width 0 and height 0. Or the last of type after, probably the best thing to do would just be display none, right? Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. So here's the last item. Yeah, no after. So there we go. That's the best way to do it. And we'll take out this padding. Okay. So let's do one of our little circle-y things up here for this top nav up here. So I'm just going to copy this. And so it would be, oh, and we don't need this tan. We can take that out too. So it would be this. And then it would just be display none. Yeah, we can take that out too. Oh, and we have to take out the bullets. Let's see here. So we just take out that bullet. There we go. This text is definitely lighter than this text, but we can't change we can't change that because that's not going to be accessible. But I like this. It's very subtle. And then let's change this red to gray. So that would be our main nav anchor element right here. Is this medium gray accessible? I think it is. Didn't we say last week that that was accessible? The medium gray normal text AA. So let's do the same thing for the top. Right here, instead of black, we'll do the medium gray. There we go. Oh, and then let's change this underline. Come on. Oh, this is the top nav underline. Right here. There we go. And we're going to come back at a later and we're going to work on this search. The search looks terrible. I just think it functions the way we want it to. It looks terrible. But doesn't this look a million times better? Just like this. Should we make this circle like just a little bit darker? Or do we like the subtle? Do we like subtle? This is 100%. I think this is kind of like, I think it's okay. Oh, yeah, I think that looks great. Look at our little animation. So cute. Mustafa says congrats to no one. Well, listen, I think you're great, no one. I love everybody in the chat. I never thought I would find people that would come hang out with me while I do this. So I love all you guys. And yeah, no one, I think that you're extremely thoughtful. And yeah, it makes me feel good to know that I have a couple people just like supporting me. That's it. I just appreciate the support. So, and Malik says he likes how it is. Yeah, I like how it is too. I like how it is too. It's much better than the red. And then I want to change the default color of the buttons from red to blue. That's the only other thing I want to do. So our default button style, instead of red, I just want to make it blue. And we're going to find a way to use some of these colors. Let me show you something else that I have here. Don't we like that better? Yes. Don't we like this like a million times better? We're going to figure out that search too. Maybe we'll work on the search tomorrow. I do have something else that I want to show you. So when we let's see here. So this is a screenshot from when we were choosing colors. And we're probably not going to use all of these colors, but I have an idea for how we could use these together like this as sort of just like a UI treatment, not a UI thing that anybody would need to interact with, but just as a way to add a little bit of color, because I like the combination of these colors together, literally just how they're laid out like this. So I have some ideas, and I don't think we're going to do it today, but I just really like this, and I do want to introduce a little bit of color into this. And so I have some ideas about how we could do that. So if you're thinking to yourself, it's so boring. Why does it have to be so boring? Just know that I have ideas for how we can make it not be so boring. So, all right, this was a huge improvement. Huge improvement. I'm so much happier about what's going on up here. So, okay, so with that being said, let's continue to style this footer. The other thing that I want to do is we did this 1.5 to 1 aspect ratio for this image, and this is a square image. It was cropped specifically to be a square. So I'm just going to make this a square image because this is just such an awkward crop of this. So let's fix that because I don't like it. So this right here. There. So now it's a nice square. And then the other thing I was thinking is we have this border, this white border with some transparency over all of these other images. What if we put that border on all of the images? So what if I want to put that border on this image too. So bear with me because I kind of like that effect and I want to do it. So I'm going to do it. Let's see here. Where is it? I think it's this right here. So we used a pseudo class. So instead of doing this on the figures specific to the cards, what if we just did this on all of the figures is what I'm thinking. So we have a figure up here. Button, SVG figure. So by default, we'll make this position relative. So we can take that off, and then we could take this off, and then we could just make this one of our global styles. So every figure is going to have this pseudo element, and except that this would need to be border radius. Well, that's fine. So we would just add border radius to the hero. We can do that. Search. So for this, we would just say hero, figure, before, and we would just add border radius to this. So border radius 50%. Yeah, what do we think? And then all of our images will get that treatment. Oh, and we have to adjust. We have to adjust the position, object position. Well, we can take this out. We don't need that anymore, right? There we go. I love it. I love it. This just puts a little finishing touch, I think, on this particular image. So I am loving our header and our hero so much more having done this, getting rid of the red, just making our own little bullet with an outline, changing the red to blue. We're going to come back and deal with this search later, and then giving these images the same treatment as all the other images. I love it. Okay, so the final thing that I want to do here is on this load more button. This needs a hover active focus. So what I'm thinking is that we can transition this background, but also let's clean up how we're dealing with these bullets, because I know that we're using, let's see if we can find it right here. We're using all of these spans, which kind of defeats the point of adding a class to a button and then automatically getting the styles, right? This is the other thing I was thinking about last week. So instead of these bullets, let's use pseudo elements again. So any button, so any button where you add button lines, it would be a pseudo element of this div. So let's take these out. And then let's find our button lines right here. So it would be a pseudo element of the div. So you would have to add a div to your content in order to add this class. I think that's acceptable considering the amount we're going to do with CSS. So we're going to do button lines div, and we're going to do before, and we're going to do after. We're going to be able to combine some of these. So we want content. We're not going to put in content, but we have to have that property. It's going to be display inline block. And then we'll say width 10 pixels, height 10 pixels, background color transparent, border 2 pixels, solid. I think we just decided it was going to be gray. And then border radius 50%. And then I think we also said that we could do margin. Hang on, I want to copy what we have. I think this will work, and this should automatically put it one before and one after, right? It worked. What do we think? So I think we could adjust our margin though, right? This is a beefy margin. And I think for this, they would be blue. Yeah, and we can adjust our margin. Isn't that a much better approach though? Much better approach. In fact, I don't even think we need to clamp this at all. I think we could just set 0.25 rems on the left and right, and then the border would be blue. I love it. And then let's do, maybe it needs to be a little smaller though. Oops. Yeah, I think that looks okay. And then do we need to do like a vertical line here? So if we do vertical align, does that have an impact? Didn't really have an impact, did it? It doesn't always. Okay, so let's just focus on getting a hover active focus in there. So that would be this right here. So for buttons, lines, focus, hover, active. I think what we want to do is transition the top and the left. So we'll do a transition, top. We could just do all. And then the top would be maybe 5 pixels, and the left would be 5 pixels. Oh, I put this on the wrong thing. Hang on. That's on the... No, that's right. I think I need to add after here. Because before and after our pseudo elements, focus, hover, active are pseudo classes. Okay, hang on, we'll figure this out. Did I do this in the wrong order? After. I don't think so. This is the thing. After, focus, hover, active. Can you not do a pseudo class on a pseudo element? Or oh no, it's hang on. So the hover active focus is on the button itself, not on the element. So this would actually be so you would focus hover active first, and then you would trigger the element. You would trigger this. I don't know if I need to specify that or not. I want to transition the pseudo element. Of course you can transition a pseudo element. Why wouldn't you be able to? So when you focus, because it's a, when you focus on the button, transition the pseudo element. Really? Yeah, because this does not let me even force something. It's totally grayed out here. Is there something else that I can transform? Maybe I can. I really wanted the. What if we. So this is position relative. What if we say top 0, left 0, which is the default value? And what if we just transition the top layer instead? That might be a better approach. So we would transition just the top layer. And then this would be here. That was in the wrong place anyways, but oh, I think it's the div. Button lines. Am I losing my mind? Button lines. Focus, hover, active, top left. Do I have things in the wrong order? There's the after, there's the div. There's the div before and after. There's the span. Button folk. Oh, is it just not what is happening here? Button lines. Did I spell something wrong? Button lines. It's not even so if we're on, here's the button. The class is button and lines. If we add the focus, it doesn't even show, it's just button focus, not button lines focus. It's not appearing anywhere here. Here's button lines after. Oh my gosh, button, this is buttons, not button. Okay. All right. Oh, there it is. Look at. Oops. It moves the entire element. I just wanted to move the top layer. At least I'm not losing my mind anymore. Okay, so what's, well, was it not working the whole time because I because I had it spelled wrong? Because what I really wanted was the pseudo element transition. So let's try that one more time now that I know what I was doing wrong. So I really wanted this to transition. Button lines after. Button. So focus, hover, active triggers the pseudo element. I don't know if that's going to work. Because the pseudo element isn't going to get the, it's the button that gets the focus, the hover, or the active. See, I think I had it right the first time. It was just spelled wrong. I think it's this, right? I don't know. If this doesn't work, we're going to move on. That worked. That worked. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. This is all I wanted to do. And then we can put this transition. See, it would have worked from the very beginning, but I spelled it wrong. There. That's the that's the transition that I wanted. Do we need to do anything else to this transition? Like, do we need to, I don't know. Do we need to do anything else? Yeah, thank you. The transition should be on the pseudo element itself. So, well, no, the transition, yeah. So the transition is on the pseudo element, but the focus hover active is on the button, and then that triggers the pseudo element. See, it would have worked from the beginning, but I had it spelled wrong. So, gaslighting at its finest. Sorry about that. I was trying to conceal the fact that I just spilled coffee on myself. So, Rishapal is here. Hello. And Rishapal is asking, can you review my portfolio? So I do have a link in the description for a code review or a consultation that'll take you to a page on my website. If you want to sign up for a code review or a consultation and put time on the calendar, you are able to do that through my website. So I'll let you go check out that link, and then you can let me know if you would like me to proceed with a code review. So thank you for asking, and thank you for being here. And thank you for subscribing, because the chat is subscriber only. So I know if you're in the chat, you subscribed. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. I will say this, spelling something wrong is the best mistake to make, because it means that you probably weren't wrong in what you were trying to do. The problem is if you don't catch your misspelling early, you can try a lot of different things that don't work, right? So, okay. I'm good with this as a hover. I don't really think we need to do anything else. So, let's move on to the footer. Okay. Boy, we're all over the place today, huh? So this my story, I think we're good here. We don't need to do anything else. Let's just work on our latest posts. So we know that the Twitter icon or the X icon is going to be on the left. So I'm going to flexbox this. This should be fairly straightforward. And then this border is a dashed border. So, and then this is our link with font style italic. So we'll get down to our footer here. So here's our items, my story. Here's the first article, which that's done. So here's the next item. This says latest posts. We'll say, oh yeah, latest posts. How about this? Latest posts on X. And we have the icon on the left, and then we have the post item. So the item post will be Flexbox. So we'll just say display flex, flex flow, row, no wrap. Justify content, we'll do space between. And align items would be flex start. And then we're going to have to resize our icon here a little bit. That's fine. So this is the post icon SVG. So I'm going to say item post SVG. Probably I don't think we need a div around this icon because we already made the SVGs display block. So we don't need to, yeah, I don't think we need this div right here. We can style this SVG without the extra div. So let's take this out. Yeah, so item post and then item post SVG. I'll probably just say post SVG. Yeah, look how much better that looks without that div because it's taking on the styles from our global styles. So we know that this is three rems by 3 rems, which is 48 by 48. The SVG is not something that people interact with. It's getting a little squished there, isn't it? It's not something that people interact with, so we don't need to worry about accessibility in terms of interaction, but we do need to make sure. I think we do need to make sure. Would it be better to use grid for this? Because we have we're using Flexbox, but we have when you use Flexbox and you start putting a width on things, you really have to have a width on everything. So it might be better to use grid for this. Because to me, one of the benefits of using Flexbox is that you don't have to put widths on things. And then one of the benefits of using grid is that you give everything a column and you don't have to put a width on things. So if we were going to look at this in terms of columns, what would we say this is? Maybe 1 FR and six. So we would still want this to be align items flex start. So if we did display grid and then grid template columns, 1 FR and then 6 FR. Is this supposed to have a comma? Yeah, that's pretty darn close. And now we can just resize. So we could resize this to anything and our columns would still say, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, grid is much better for this. I like it. Okay. So I think we could then if we put padding 0.5 rems on the SVG, that's going to shrink the SVG a little bit, but that's okay. It's already a square. So we'll say border 1 pixel solid. And we'll use our blue color. And then we'll say border radius 50%. And then let's actually let's give it a little extra padding. Maybe not so much. 0.75. Yeah, that's about perfect. Is it kind of cutting off our... It's kind of rounding the corners there a little bit, isn't it? Is that just from the border radius? Yeah, that's from the border radius. So maybe we do need to have a div around this. Unless we don't care. But we kind of care, right? Oh, we have to adjust the z index. Look it up here. We have to adjust the z index of this figure. Okay, let's carry on. Let's carry on. Uh-oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Hold please. Okay, crisis averted. Yeah, we might need to... Unless we can... Yeah, you can't make the SVG smaller because the border's on the SVG. I could mess with the view box. So yeah, we do need to put that div. This is what Control Command Z was invented for. So instead we would want to put this on the icon, which is the div. And then we would want to adjust the size of the SVG. Post SVG. We could say width 2 rems, height 2 rems. Let's see here. Maybe down to 1. Yeah, I think that's a little better. It's a little off kilter, isn't it? We just need to adjust our padding. Let's do 1, which we would probably then want to do 1 rem here. Oh, that's too big. 0.5. Not quite a square though, is it? So 0, so that would be 1 all the way, 1 all the way around. No, that's not the right way to do that. So if our SVG is a square and our padding, oh, it's because of the column. That's why. It's just taking up the shape of the column. So we could just put a width. If it's 0.5, that's 2 rems, and a height of 2 rems. There we go. It's still a little off kilter, isn't it? Yeah, this is the result of using columns and using grid. Should we go back to using flex and just put in a gap? Maybe that is a better way to go. Display, flex, flex flow, row, no wrap, justify content, space between, and then a gap of 1 rem. Yeah, that works. It still looks a little, it doesn't look quite centered, does it? But it's got the right amount of Okay, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. I am going to increase the border on this. Oof, that's now it really does. It's because of the border. Is that the reason why? Doesn't it look like it's shifted down into the corner? So if we've got top, right, bottom, left, so top, right, bottom, left, top, right. If we increased this, bottom, increased this, and then decreased these. There. Now it looks even. Okay. I can just tell I'm overthinking everything right now. So, okay, moving on. So here is, we just have to adjust our paragraph tags. So apparently I didn't write any global styles for paragraphs. So let's see if we screw anything up by doing that. I usually do. So I'll just say paragraph, margin, 0, 0, 1 rem. There we go. How does everything else look? Everything else looks fine. And then let's make sure that our post item anchor link post, let's see here, post item anchor element, font style, italic, And maybe a little bold. Font weight, I think we could do like 500 or 600. All right. And then what else do we have here? And then I think our time 1 day ago is just a slightly lighter text, maybe a little bit smaller. And we did sort of learn last week that that's acceptable. It's not ideal, but it's not like technically against the rules. So this would be the post item time. Post item, the time element. So we'll say font size, and maybe we'll just take that down to 0.5, or excuse me, 0.9 rems, and then we'll do a color of this medium gray. I wish I could make that border a little thicker. Maybe 1.5? 2 was too much. Yeah, that looks a little better. And then let's make the SVG also a different color. So I think it's I think it was a fill. Oh, I guess it is gray. Okay, we can leave it gray. Well, it was black, so we'll just make it medium gray. What happens if we just do gray? It's not a UI element. Oh, that's way too light. Do we have any other colors? What about tan? Oh, that's the, hang on. There, I like that. Blue and tan always go together. All right. Oh, we're going to have to adjust the paragraph text here. That's fine. So this is the figure. I think we can just put some margin on this figure to push that paragraph down, and then we don't have to mess with the margin there. So there we go. Now let's just go ahead. I think we have enough time. We can style the recent comments right here. Let's see here. And we have a comment that says, hey, started with Python recently. Any tips to learn quick? My best tip to learn any programming language quickly is to do a project. Anytime that you can take something new and apply it to a real world situation, a project, an idea that you have, that's the best way and the quickest way to learn how to use it. So whether that's going on ChatGPT and asking for projects or ideas, ways that you can apply Python, or presumably you chose Python maybe because you had something in mind. You're going to learn it the quickest when you're doing something that you are personally interested in, and it's a project or an app or an idea that, you know, adds some kind of value, right? Solves a problem. So that is my best advice for learning anything quickly. So I hope that helps. All right. So let's work on this now. Okay, recent comments. So this is our last item. Maybe we should footer items. There's the heading. There's the figures and the images. Okay, we can do latest X posts. And then this would be recent comments. All right. Recent comments. Okay. So we have our figure. And then we have the comment content. Let's collapse some of these. Okay, so the figure is a circle, and right now it's a square. So we'll do comment figure. So we're going to have to, well, we're probably going to want to flexbox this also. So we'll do item, let's do that first. Item comment, display flex, flex flow, row no wrap. Oops. Justify content, space between, align items, flex start. And then we'll give this a gap of 1 rem. And then the figure, I'm going to say width 100%, height auto, and the aspect ratio is 1 for a square. And then we'll want to do a border radius 50%, whoops, which means we also need to do overflow hidden, so that image inside the container is hidden. And then we have to make sure that the comment figure after the pseudo class, is it before or after? It's before. We just need to make sure that this also has a border radius of 50%. I'm not sure if this will work. It worked. Nice. I felt like I was ready for an easy win. I am kind of thinking that I want to make that image a little bit smaller. I don't think it needs to be that big. So right now we have width 100%. Let's make it width 60%. And then let's, so the default border is 8 pixels. Let's just change that size. So we want the border, isn't it border width? Yeah, border width, maybe 5 pixels. Yeah, so it's a little more proportional. So we'll make this 60%, and then we'll say border width 5 pixels. There, what do we think? So far, so good. Okay. So here's the username, which is uppercase. I'll give it a little bit of letter spacing, and it's a little bit bold, so we'll go with the font weight of 600. So that's the user, class user. So we'll do comment user. So I'm going to say text transform, uppercase, letter spacing 1 pixel, and then we'll do font weight 600. There we go. Now we have the comment text with the SVG and the text date. So we are going to want to flexbox the comment text. Comment. I wonder if we could just I was thinking we could make the SVG and the text date container display inline, but I think I'm just going to flexbox the parent. I think that just is the easiest. Famous last words, right? Flex flow, row, no wrap. Justify content, space between, align items, flex start, and then we'll also give that a gap of 1 rem. There we go. Here's our SVG. So this is the same thing we ran into before, because we don't have a container around this SVG. We may want one. Yeah, it's better to put a div around these SVGs when you're flexboxing them, is what I'm realizing. So that's fine. That's fine. There we go. There. Yeah, those SVGs just don't want to hold their shape when you flexbox them, even when they're set to display block. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know why that happens. I'm fuzzy on that. But this works. This works. So, but I am going to make this, we'll make this a little bit smaller. Just like that. And then I think we can just change the fill. So this is the comment text SVG. There's like a little party happening outside my window, so apologize for that noise if you can hear that. It's just people enjoying the beautiful weather. So, Let's see here. I'm going to say width, what did I say? 2. And then the fill, we'll do blue. There. I like it. And then I think we want to do the same thing to this time element that we did to this time element. So that's the comment, that's the text date time. Text date time. There we go. I really like it, actually. And then let's make sure that, let's just make this mobile. Let's just make this mobile. So what is this now? I don't even remember what it is now. What is it? It's our footer, wrap, items. It's grid. Okay. So let's get this back to okay, so there's 100%. So I think we can collapse this at 1024 and we'll just put them in a column. So this is line 822. Right here. So here's our footer items. And yeah, I'm just going to put it right down here at the bottom. So we'll do at media. Max width 1024 pixels. Oh, whoops. I want this to be, what's the class? Items. So we don't need that. And I think we can, I'm going to change this to 1 rem. And then we'll just say 1 FR. Okay, here's the other thing that I want to do. So I'm completely fine with this. Oh, we have to add the border in between. The other thing that I want to do is, this image is giant when we go into mobile. So let's just bring down this image a little bit. It doesn't need to be this big. So here's the media query. Let's just also for the figure, the hero figure, change this. So maybe instead of 100%, we could just add a max width, right? So max width 300 pixels, and we would want to make sure that that had margin 0 auto. And then that doesn't need to be so gosh darn big. And of course we would put that inside the media query. So where's our media query? It is line 632. So we'll do the hero figure, max width, we'll just say 300 pixels, and margin 0 auto. There we go. And then we can do the same thing with this picture. So this is the footer items figure, item figure. Here's our media query on line 952. So it's just the, I'm going to do I don't know if this needs, we'll just do item figure and see how everything looks. So 952, I think that's just down here at the bottom. We'll see how it goes. Max width, 300 pixels. Yeah, I guess we would do a margin, 0 auto. Well, let's just see how it looks. Oh, but we do need 1 rem on the bottom. Yeah, I think that works fine. Oh, and I think we're going to want to do it for this also, huh? So this is way more specific. So this is comment figure. And this is getting those styles of a max width of 300 pixels. So maybe we also want to add a style specific to this as well. So what would we want this to be? Width 60%, but maybe the max width is so let's just add another comment figure with the max width. There we go. I think that's a little small, maybe 150. I also think that this is a little bit small. Maybe I need to rethink this. So maybe instead of this, we just make this a little more flexible. So maybe we say a width of 150 pixels and a max width of 100%. Is that 150 pixels? No. I think it has to be the opposite. Oh, because of the wait, what? Let's go back to how it was. Let's go back to how it was. I do like that a little bit bigger. And then we'll put in a media query. We can say max width 150. Yeah. Yeah, and look at this. We're gonna want to adjust some of this too, unless we adjust our Flexbox. So right now I have space between. Maybe for this we just say center. Or flex start. Maybe that's better. I actually think center is better. This is gonna need some refining, isn't it? Boy, usually you just pop these things into columns and it's like set it and forget it. Not with these. So there's the comments. Here's the X posts. Let's do flex start. Should they all be flex start? What about the recent comments? Mm-hmm. So we think we just say margin 0 on this. Yeah, I think they should just be flex start. Probably most people are going to see it just like that, right? Yeah. Okay. I feel like today was very challenging. I don't know why. Some days are just like that, I guess. So if you're still here, if you're still hanging in with me, thank you. We're getting there. I didn't I mean, I had my eye on this mock-up for a couple of months. I don't honestly put that much thought into the mock-ups that I choose, other than I strive for a little bit of variety, right? I try to do something a little bit different. We tend to do these one-page sites from project to project, and I just try to look for a little bit of variety because I own so many of these mock-ups. It's not hard to do. Beyond that, I'm not looking for anything in particular. Yet once I get in and I start working on things, the things that I think I'm going to spend a lot of time on, I spend almost no time on. And the things that trip me up or that I realize I don't know how to deal with are a complete surprise to me. I'm just like, I had no idea that this was going to take this long. I don't know why this is taking this long. It's making me mad that it's taking this long. Yeah, it's just how it is. So the last thing I want to do here is you can see that the border, you can kind of see here that this border for the figures it's got too much Z index. So what if we just set it to 0? Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to set that to 0. So that's on our global figure. So we'll go ahead and do that. And if we need to adjust that later, we can. All right, let's go ahead and push this. Yeah, let's go ahead and push this. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Style improvements for nav styling of the footer. Okay. Well, yeah, clearly I was a little rusty this weekend. I mean, I took some time off this week. I took a little time off. I did some stuff around the house. Made a couple of trips to the Goodwill. I've been to Target and Walmart both in 1 week. That alone should have killed me. And I haven't done a lot of coding this week, so maybe I'm just a little, I can tell I'm feeling a little rusty here this Saturday. So Christian Codes, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. No one, yes, have a good day, everyone. We loved the book report. Glad that you're finding these book suggestions helpful. Make sure that we say thank you to the mods in the chat, Malik, Monique, and No One. Who else joined us today? We had Jason Harris, Christian Codes, Rehan Anwar was here. Who else? We had a very chill day in the chat. Mustafa was here. Rishapal was here. Thank you to everyone who hung out with us today. Come back tomorrow. We're going to keep working on this footer. I want to finish. It would be nice to finish getting this footer styled tomorrow. And then we have 1 weekend left to implement our slider and our media items. I will say this. I am probably not going to implement the audio file. I would like to tell you a quick little anecdote of something that happened this week. So I'm sure we're all aware of the fact that YouTube has kind of this broken copyright system. Their AI goes through and will basically identify if you're using somebody else's IP, right? Usually it's music. And that's a good thing for the most part, because I have had people downloading my videos and re-uploading them as their own work on their channels. And YouTube notifies me right away that that's happening, and I can get those videos taken down. I mean, that you shouldn't be taking my videos in their entirety and uploading them as your own. So I had a subscription for a year to Artlist, where I was like basically licensing music, and I've mostly been using music in my vlogs, and I don't do a ton of vlogging anymore. It was something I was just experimenting with it over the summer. At any rate, I use some classical music from a composer named Eric Satie, who's been dead for 100 years, but he has some very famous classical piano music. I downloaded it from Artlist. I had a license to use it. I used it in one of the vlogs. And then YouTube notified a totally different channel, a totally different artist, that I was using their music, which I wasn't. I was using the music, but it was a different performer, a different artist, and I had a license to use it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. YouTube flagged that music as belonging to somebody else, said that I didn't have a license to use it, and demonetized the video. Now, the good news is I am not a monetized channel. I don't earn money on my videos. But at the point in time when I become monetized, that particular video I will not be able to monetize. Not that it matters, because it didn't even get 100 views. Because YouTube told this completely other channel that I was stealing their music. So it's not a copyright strike. It's just a copyright claim, in that if I was monetized, I couldn't monetize that video. I find this so frustrating, because I spent a lot of money on Artlist to license music, and it did absolutely no good. So my point in telling you all this is that I don't think that moving forward, I'm going to use any music on my channel at all in any way, shape, or form, unless I feel more confident that I'm not going to get a copyright strike, because this is, I already know from watching other creators what a problem this is on YouTube. And I just find it so frustrating, and just I don't even know how to explain how I feel that I spent hundreds of dollars to license music and this still happened. And Artlist doesn't care. Now, I actually think Artlist is kind of mad, or is complete, not mad, but indifferent, because I didn't renew my subscription, because I was like, I'm not really going to vlog. I don't think I need to continue paying hundreds of dollars for this, because I'm just not really using music. Plus, I found Creator Mix, which is completely free, and it's run by Nick Nimitz, who I really like. I like his channel. So I think moving forward, I just want to avoid using any music in any way, shape, or form. This is my very long-winded way of letting you know what happened this week, and also just saying, like, yeah, I'm not going to implement anything that has audio on this project, so I'm going to take this out. And we're going to implement the video from NASA, and we're going to wire up this slider, and that's going to be it. So I'm not going to work on anything related to an audio file. So there's that. So that happened this week. I didn't get in trouble. My channel didn't get in trouble. I don't have like a copyright strike. It was just like, hey, this music doesn't belong to you. So if you were monetized, you would not be able to monetize this video. So it's frustrating, and I don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to deal with it at all. And so if I can have the type of channel that doesn't rely on music and is just purely my own content, I'm not really doing reaction videos, I'm not looking at other people's content, or if I do, I have their permission to do so. I don't rely on music. It's unlikely moving forward that I'm going to do really any vlogging, because I kind of figured out this summer that it was fun for a few months, but I don't really enjoy it that much, and nobody watches them. So I'm just going to stick with front-end development and project videos and streaming. This is really all I care about. So, okay, well, that's that. One moment. Hold, please. Well, this felt like kind of a chaotic day. So I appreciate everybody who tuned in and hung out and watched. Yeah, come hang out with me again tomorrow. We'll continue to work on this footer. And then I think I talked last weekend about what I want to work on in December, which is redoing my responsive video gallery UI that I built like 12 years ago. I really want to redo that. So okay, that's that. Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I hope you come back and hang out with me again tomorrow, and we're going to keep plugging away at this. Have a good one. Bye-bye.